Hello again. I visited with you yesterday about the South Bluff and all of the people camping out there and me having to haul off the trash. It was a very popular place to camp, and the Boy Scout troops in the area often came and asked if they could camp on the South Bluff. There was a nice spring of water where they could get water and down next to the river on the south end of the bluff, not up where the bluff was, but south on the end of the pasture. Now we had cut trails all through the timber in there, and we had put a gate in so that a horse gate that we could get in coming from the house to ride on it, so that it didn't matter that the gates were locked and shut up. Anyway, we had a troop of Boy Scouts one Friday night that were camping out on the back side of the place, and one of the mothers came out, didn't know where they were, and they were back in the timber a ways. Um, and she had her son had forgotten his medicine, and he was a diabetic, and he had to have it. And so she asked if I could get it to them, and I said, sure, not a problem. And I go down and get Smokey and saddle him up and well, took the medicine, and I took off for the South Bluff. Now we had been training, the horses that we were training were for jumping uh, at that time of our lives. And I had some Western saddles that I rode when I was working cattle, but by and large, we were training them all for jumping. And the kids that you saw out on the Cimarron River, those were all on English saddles. I think there was a man, a colonel, uh, can't remember his name. Anyway, he was with us, and Colonel Moore, and he was riding a Western saddle. But when we rode out in the desert, the kids all had English saddles and rode them, and we had jumps out in the pasture and whatnot. And Smokey had become quite proficient at jumping. In fact, he was a really good hunter because he jumped in such a nice farm. We'll put a picture of him with me jumping him at the end of this one today. Anyway, so I'm in kind of a hurry, and I get onto the trail, and I'm galloping along the trail, and this was a Friday night, so there were other campers on the pasture, the South Bluff piece. Remember, it was a half a section, so it was quite large. I mean, it had a lot of room in it. And I'm galloping along this trail at a nice canter, and I come around some bushes, and a couple had laid their blankets across in the trail. It was a nice smooth spot, would have been a nice place to have slept, but they weren't sleeping. They were laying there, nude, making love. And Smokey and I came around the bush, and he jumped them. I mean, we literally jumped over them because they were right in the way. And there was no other place to go other than stop and slide into them. Anyway, he jumped them, and I went on down to the scouts and gave the boy his medicine. And but when I came back, they were gone for some reason. Uh, they'd taken their bed and had left. But we had lots of trails through there, and we would go ride. And uh, another scout troop was out one evening and or one day, and they were on the Stillwater Creek Bridge. There was a big bridge. I described it yesterday. One of those big iron arch spans, arch on either side, and the road in the bottom of it. Anyway, they had been out on the bridge and had set their. They were throwing things into the water. They had set their packs on the side of the bridge there, and one of them somehow had gotten knocked off the bridge into the water. And I happened to be close with Smokey there, and so I took Smokey's saddle off because I didn't want to get it wet. And we jumped in the river, not off of the bridge. We went around, got down next to it because it was wide, and this pack was floating its way toward the Cimarron River, and from there, no telling where it would have gone. Anyway, I Smokey was quite willing to dive off into the water and swim. He was a good swimmer. Uh, we had swam a number of times in some of the ponds, and anyway, we swam out and retrieved the pack, So we took care of a lot of people coming and going there during the course of a year, not just young people who rode with us, but with scouts. And we had a Girl Scout troop that camped out there. Plus, a lot of people were really nice about wanting to camp out. They would call and ask if they could, and we never turned anyone down that wanted to camp on the bluff. And so it was a kind of a fun thing, but it was fun to uh, ride Smokey through those trails. Another thing that I did with him, talking about trails, we had 1,600 acres. And so we had quite a big area, some of it open pasture, some of it crop ground, some of it timber, with diagonally and twisting and winding through the place was Stillwater Creek. And so one of the things that I learned about Smokey is that he could trail like a dog. And I used to tell the kids that were with us, I would give them a 15-minute head start. And I told them they couldn't go faster than a trot, but that I would catch them within an hour. They could go anywhere they wanted. And I would put Smokey on their trail, and he would sniff the ground, and he could canter with his nose 6 to 8 inches off of the ground. And we used to go trail the kids up, and he never failed to track them down. There was a time or two that we didn't make it quite within within the hour, but no more than another 5 or 10 minutes beyond that hour that we could catch them. Anyway, he was a fun horse to ride and a fun horse to have. The only person that for many years that rode him was me. And then when we got him up there, I told you how I had Kamari take care of him, and he finally got to where she could work him and ride him. And she certainly used him while I was off serving in the military. So y'all have a wonderful day today. Subscribe if you would. Leave notes, leave comments. If you would like for me to interview somebody on horses, I'd be happy to try and do that. Just send me an email or leave a comment. I enjoy doing this. Sometimes I feel bad about telling all the stories I don't want to sound like I'm aggrandizing myself or building myself up, but they are fun stories, some of them. And some of them touch a lot of people that have been with us. I've had a number of comments from students that were there with us at the time, and off and on. So you have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.